University Press on this fantastic program. So thank you very much. That's my official message. And now I'd like to speak to you personally in a sort of up close and personal way and tell you as an American who's been living here in Pakistan for only 3 months, why I take such an immense personal delight in coming to a gathering such as this one. Ever since I picked up my first Nancy Drew novel at age 7, I've turned to literature to help me make sense of a world that is random, chaotic, perplexing, but always intriguing, always richly mysterious, and full of luscious coincidences and implications. Indeed, literature for me has always been the key to that strange and beautiful world in which our imaginations dwell and our souls find nourishment. Before I left the United States just last September, I was given many times as a going away present copies of the new issue of Granta on Pakistani literature that had just appeared that month. I brought them all with me, but once we were here in Pakistan, these copies of Granta somehow migrated from my suitcase to the bookshelf to the coffee table in the living room to my bedside table, and it took me quite a while to get around to opening it. This was partly because of the unavoidable business of settling into our new home here in Pakistan, but moreover, I was really absorbed in books about history, current events, political affairs, international relations, all of those very serious topics and disciplines that sometimes dominate our idea of what constitutes the real world. Yet when I finally opened this amazing issue of Granta, for me it was like stepping from a black and white world into a world of living color. What a shock it was for me to suddenly find myself immersed in a very strange and beautiful world full of unusual characters, marvelous backdrops, peculiar adventures, and unfathomable wisdom. And yet at the same time, how comfortable it was to be back in a land where human relationships, whether good ones or bad ones, dominate, provide meaning, and in some way or other win out at the end. And with this shock came for me my first true understanding of where I really was. At first I knew I wasn't in Washington anymore. But as I finished this issue of Granta, I turned to a set of novels by Pakistani writers that I bought literally my last night in Washington at Borders bookstores. Novels by H.M. Naqvi, Daniel Muinuddin, Mohammed Hanif, and Ali Sethi. By coincidence, by one of these luscious coincidences, writers that I'll be joining this afternoon on a panel. And as I read these novels, I realized these writers were opening up for me something like a magical landscape in which new meanings and authentic relationships appeared before me and played themselves out in magical ways. They spoke to me so convincingly and so hospitably in a vernacular, in accents I understood so well somehow, that I found myself drawn on a journey down a golden brick road that I'm still on and has no end in sight. The fiction coming out of Pakistan these days is bewitching and exciting in a way I haven't experienced for years, and I say that very sincerely. As I read these writers, I have the feeling, to paraphrase Emily Dickinson, as if physically the top of my head were coming off, and I know that this is serious art. I look forward to continuing my journey down this golden brick road with the other writers that I'm going to be meeting here today. And as I do, I know I will feel myself very lucky to have them as companions and guides as I seek to make sense of this strange and beautiful land, which I now call my home. So to the list of all the thank yous, I'd like to add all of the writers and editors and publishers and readers who are opening up doors to me and other readers, doors through which I step time and time again, as if from a black and white world into a world of living color. And it proves to me for the millionth time in my life that there's no place like the home that a good book provides. Thank you.
Thank you, Marilyn. Before I were to invite our very dear colleague Amina, I have to make some changes. This is a really large stage, effectively, but they can come back? Okay, so then please make yourself seated wherever that you can. There is going to be a performance here. I thought that I was only performing there, so my apologies for that. I do see that, Karachi Literature Festival, one must have played some role in the construction of this hall. So this time around, we'll tell the hotel carton that this is not good enough. We have hosted the second one as well, construct a bigger one. So let's see whether they need a business plan more than us actually on the festival. Once again, my humble request is there are some elders standing. If the youth can please make way for them and join their colleagues here on the carpet, I will be truly grateful. Thank you very, very much. There are some elders standing. I now request somebody I personally admire. I have followed her lead. The minute she said that we want to do the Karachi Literature Festival, the way she said it, it was with so much of conviction and belief that it translated into my own conviction and belief. Thank you very much, Amina, for all that you have done for the festival. I now invite Amina Sayed to please speak with us.
Thank you, Mashood. Assalamu alaikum and good morning. I'd like to begin by thanking Mashood Rizvi and the British Council and Asif Farooqi for joining me in this wonderful dream to have a Karachi Literature Festival. And today I would also like to thank Dr. Marilyn Wyatt and the US Consulate in Karachi and the French Embassy for supporting us this year and for making this festival bigger and better than last time, and I hope that we will continue to have this support. So thank you very much. I would also like to thank our wonderful team at Oxford University Press, led by Rahila Bakai, who worked non-stop for this festival, and also Mashood's wonderful team, as well Zara Rizvi and all the others. So thank you. This was really a team effort, and we are delighted to have all of you here with us today. I want to talk very briefly about the publishing and the writing scene in Pakistan and how it has developed or not developed since we became an independent country. I've been very conscious of the fact for a long time that in Pakistani societies, writers are not given the attention or the recognition and honor that their counterparts were given in other societies. As a publisher, this saddened me, because our writers give expression to our native genius and have much to offer to the thriving and ever-expanding world of letters. Pakistan, a multilingual state, has a very rich literary tradition. And we have authors of high stature who have excelled in their own genre and are revered around the world. And I think it's absolutely heartwarming to see our writers being sold in chapters and borders and Barnes and Noble across the world. Whenever I travel, the first thing I do when I go to one of these bookshops is to go and see how many of our writers are represented there, and I'm never disappointed. But it has not always been like this. We have had poets like Faiz Ahmad Faiz, Sheikh Ayaz. We have had fiction writers like Manto, Khadija Masroor, Khadija Mastoor, Hajra Masroor. Even Quratul Ain Heather was ours for a few years. But our establishment then hardly let them subsist in the margins. At that time, soon after partition, the position was that even if the establishment rejected good literature, authors could survive on public support and from the general readership. This changed in the 1960s when publishing was destroyed by the creation of textbook boards in Pakistan. Each province was given a textbook board. Until then, most independent publishers survived by publishing school textbooks and used their income and expertise from publishing school textbooks to develop publishing programs for fiction and non-fiction. However, with the creation of the textbook boards, school publishing stopped and private publishing began to dry up. The problems for authors and bona fide publishers were compounded by the growth of piracy in Pakistan, which caused the works of great Pakistani writers to be freely published and sold without authors receiving any royalties. If we in Pakistan want to be respected in the world for our intellectual output, of which we have a vast corpus, we have to raise the profile of our writers and give them a place in the sun. Independent writers are the conscience of a nation. The very fact that they can be critical of decaying institutions and ideological posturing is a sign of life, growth, and hope for our society. Royalties must be ensured to our authors to give them the due share of economic benefit. Prestigious and credible awards must be instituted and given to our authors. The author, the poet, the essayist, the novelist, the biographer, and the dramatist have a great contribution to make to the evolution of our society. The muse in Pakistan needs to be celebrated, exalted, and revered. And this was, again, our intention and our motive in organizing this Karachi Literature Festival. And I'm delighted to see such a wonderful response. And I feel that seeing all of you here today, I feel that our authors are in good hands. I'm now delighted to introduce our keynote speaker, Karen Armstrong, who is here with us today. Thank you very much, Karen, for joining us. And I would also like to Karen Armstrong is an original thinker and a writer on religious issues. She has a master's degree in English literature from Oxford University, which, as Karen was telling me, really taught her to interpret language, to think imaginatively, and also to look into the minds of others, and to understand and to create bridges. And Karen has written such a large number of books that I can't list them here, but I'm very happy to say that we are privileged and honored at Oxford University Press to have published 2 of Karen's books this very week. One is 12 Steps to a Compassionate Life, and the other is A Letter to Pakistan. Both these books will be available here, and perhaps Karen will agree to sign a few copies. I have been with Karen on, she's actually here to launch a movement for compassion. And I think really your presence here is like a balm to our troubled minds. And we really welcome you, Karen, and I hope that we can move ahead with this, this movement for compassion. And I would also like to thank Mr. Amin Hashwani, who has actually organized Karen's visit. And after Karen speaks to you, Amin will just tell you about some of the basic points of the movement. So may I invite you to come and speak to us, Karen. Karen Armstrong.
Thank you. What a pleasure to be here back in Pakistan, back in Karachi for this literature festival. Even though I really originally came to Pakistan, not on a book tour for a change, but to promote a movement. In 2008, I won a prize. Every year, TED conferences give awards to people whom they think have made a difference in the world, but who, with their help, would make more of an impact. And I knew exactly what I wanted, because after 20 years of studying the religions of the world, I become aware that every single one of them has compassion at the heart of its vision and says that it is the test of true spirituality. Every single one has evolved its own version of the golden rule. never treat others as you would not like to be treated yourself, and said that this is the criterion of faith. Not one of you can be a believer, said the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, unless he desires for his neighbor what he desires for himself. But who is our neighbor? Well, in the global village, we are all neighbors. We are bound together more closely than ever before, electronically, politically, economically, and environmentally. We cannot live without the other, and all the world faiths insist that we cannot confine our benevolence to a single group. We must have what one of the Chinese sages said, called yan ai, concern for everybody. Honor the stranger, says the Jewish scripture. Love even your enemies, said Jesus. Reach out, says the Quran, to all tribes and nations. And it has long been clear to me that unless in our troubled and polarized world we learn to apply the golden rule globally, so that we treat all nations, all peoples, whatever their ideology, as we would wish to be treated ourselves, we are not going to have a viable world for the next generation. And so my charter for compassion, which is what I asked TED to help me implement. TED give you a wish, by the way, for a better world, and they'll promise to try to make it happen. So I asked them to help me craft, create, and propagate a charter for compassion, which was written by hundreds and thousands of people from all over the world online on a multilingual website, and actually put together by a council of people, of leading activists and thinkers in 6 of the major world religions. We launched the charter in 2009, and already we have 150 partners worldwide. And I came here to launch the charter in Pakistan. And I have to say that thanks to Amin Hashwani, my dear friend, who has organized an incredible team, an incredible program that could put Pakistan at the very head of this initiative for a more compassionate world. And what a message that would be for the world, that are people on the front line of so many of our troubles and conflicts should issue this summons to compassion, because above all,